Hey lovely, this is the 5th vlog in the series, A Diary of a Pilot's Wife. This one is all about the emotions and the cycles of grief that many of us are going through due to the impact that COVID has had in 2020. Even if you aren't from aviation, I'm sure that your life has been affected due to COVID. If you have suffered a loss or a huge life change in 2020, whether you're from the aviation industry or not, you are more than likely going through a cycle of grief and some emotions that you are not used to having. And if these emotions and grief cycles are not dealt with correctly, it can put you in an area where you can get trapped. And it can be a very dark hole that you can find yourself in that can be very difficult to then come out of. So it's really important to understand these emotions that some of us are going through or have been through and how to deal with them so that we can process them, heal in areas that we're needing healing from, and move on to a brighter future. The 5 most stressful life events is death, divorce, moving, job loss, and severe injury or sickness. And I'm sure for many of us, we've gone through at least one, if not 2 or 3 of these stressful life events in 2020. When we go through these life events, they affect us personally with our identity and our purpose, financially with the uncertainty of tomorrow, and then it can be professionally as well. And we get into a dark, dark hole and we don't know how to get out of it. There are 5 stages of grief that we go through when we experience one of these big stressful life events. And the first stage is denial and isolation. The second stage is anger. The third stage is bargaining. The fourth stage is depression. And then the fifth stage is acceptance. Everyone goes through this cycle at a different rate and in a different order. And you can go forward and backwards and all over. It doesn't have to necessarily be in that order. And some of us spend more time in one area than we do in another. And it's just important to be aware of this and aware of where you are and those that you love are, so that you can support, love, and help each other in the healing and to come to a place of acceptance and moving on. The first stage, being the denial isolation stage, is where you are shocked. You can't believe it has happened to you. Often we numb in this stage and we haven't quite grasped the reality of it. It does not feel real. Our emotions are numb, and sometimes life can lose its meaning during this stage. And the second stage is the anger stage, where you start to experience the pain of the loss and the reality starts to sink in. And during this stage, the anger can be directed not only at yourself, but at a company, at people, at friends, at your family, at your spouse. And it's important to realize where you are directing this anger, that it's not misplaced, because that can cause a lot of damage and a lot of hurt. The third stage is the bargaining stage. And this is the stage where you start to say, if only. If only I'd done that. What if? You could also be asking your questions, why me? And it is at this stage where you may feel guilt and think if you'd done things differently, the outcome could have been very different. And it's a terrible thing to be stuck in a place of regret. We truly need to help not only ourselves but those around us if we get stuck in those difficult and almost torturous cycles of questions. The fourth stage is depression. And in this stage, life loses its meaning. There's no more joy and there's no more hope for the future. So often depression is brought on through great disappointment. And this great disappointment leads to discouragement, which leads to despair, which eventually leads to depression. And when you get to this stage, you can just lose all hope for the future. As long as there's still life, there is still hope, my friend. And if you have hope, then you have life. So we don't want to lose that hope. And if you find that you are in a place of complete hopelessness now, and you're not able to get yourself out of there on your own, I encourage you to please seek help. It is a strength to get the help you need and not a weakness. Whether that help is through medication or through therapy and counseling, that help is not only to help yourself, but to help all those who love you through this very difficult season that you are going through. And the fifth stage is the acceptance stage, where processed all the emotions and all the feelings and all the thoughts, and you get to a point where you're able to move on. You may even be noticing your children going through these stages of grief, and we need to allow them to process it. The same way we need to allow ourselves and our spouse. We need to respect each other in our different grieving processes and the emotions we may be feeling. Some of us may even be feeling emotions like jealousy, why me, resentment and bitterness. And we need to identify these emotions and find a way to process them and put them behind us. So I know this vlog has rather been quite depressing, going through stages of grief and emotions, but I just wanted to bring awareness to it because I see so many that I love right now going through these stages without realizing it, or feeling certain emotions without processing it. And it's important that we are aware of it so that we can support, love and empathize with each other to not only just survive but thrive. Because wherever you are today and whatever you've been through, I promise you, if you are still breathing, there's still an incredibly great, amazing life ahead of you. So don't give up. Keep going and process all that you're going through, because the best is yet to